A very good morning to us here today. Actually, one of the last days that are going to be wrapping up the month of February, the 26th of Feb 2024, and it is a Monday. We start off the day like this at 2 minutes past 7 a.m. My name is Marcy Katsimi, and I'm with Andrew Barige. Well, today we're going to start off with sad news. Yesterday, actually, there was it was quite a shock to the Buganda Kingdom and the Baganda as a fraternity, as one of their leaders, that is the Omutaka Rwoma of the Chika Chendiga. He's actually the leader of the clan, the Indiga clan. He was shot yesterday. And of course, it was actually quite absurd for his family and the entire kingdom, and of course, the entire nation as well. And of course, a lot of killings have been happening, a lot of shootings have been happening. And we hope that the police will probe and investigate. But of course, news came in later that one of the suspects, the silence that led to his killing, were actually followed up and stoned to death by residents because of anger, because at the end of the day, if you are responsible for someone that is close, mostly for a clan leader, it is quite enraging for some people, mostly for those that are into that very clan. But of course, we actually send our condolences to the family of the deceased, and we hope that his soul will rest in peace. Well, of course, last year, a number of shootings happened, and many people lost lives. Over 300 people died due to these shootings. Well, that is what happened yesterday, and we hope that his soul rest in eternal peace. Well, today we're going to be looking at competition. Competition, actually, in terms of strategizing yourself as a small business holder, as a small business person, and how you can strategize so that you can compete in this new era of doing business. Well, good morning, Andrew.
A very good morning. How are you doing?
It's a very good morning. At least the weather has calmed down a bit.
Yeah.
Quite hot. We are not certain which season it is.
Absolutely. Yeah, but of course, before we proceed into that discussion in relation to small and intermediary enterprises, taking a look at their competitive strategies, I think we need to, first of all, share a little picture about what really here this is about, because there is an element of micro businesses, then there is small businesses, and then intermediaries. So before we proceed, and depending on each level you are, that means there is a strategy that you ought to apply. Of course, for the micro, we are talking about businesses which don't employ more than 5 people, and they have an annual turnover of 10 million Ugandan shillings annually. That is for the micro. So those have a certain strategy. And now taking a look at small business, micro, then small. I'm talking about you, if you don't employ more than 50, you employ less than 50. So literally
between 10 to 40.
10 to 40 people. Then you have a turnover of 100 million Ugandan shillings. That is annually turnover. Then coming to intermediary, which is you employing between 50 to 100 people, and you're having a turnover of 360 million. That is per year. And so that makes you an intermediary. But according to the statistics, you clearly see that 93% of these businesses that run this economy actually are micro enterprises. And not even small, actually. Small is just about 93%. So the 7% is shared by intermediary and the small. And you find that these are being run by youth, talking about the micro, women, and majority of them are startups. So that clearly creates a picture of the environment we're dealing in, and the fact that why are we having more of these as compared to also the fact that the gestation period of them, because talking about entrepreneurship, this is what I would think. If you start a small business, I would anticipate probably in a few years to come, you've opened another branch for that business. In other words, there should be business growth, but there is startedness. It's not pleasure. It's not good pleasure that we say, hey, there are many people that are starting up businesses, the youth are starting up businesses, and yet those businesses don't graduate from the micro stage, at least to graduate to the secondary stage. That's bothering.
Yeah, well, I believe there's a lot of challenges that come with it, mostly because at the end of the day, everyone thinks they have that spirit of entrepreneurship. I can be an entrepreneur, I can open up a small business. And of course, you have to know that there has to be professionalism in all this. There has to be ethics. Every entity in life, every aspect of life has to have ethics in it.
Ethics, absolutely.
Yes. So for you to start up a small business, whether it's micro, the one we're now focusing on, these small businesses, you have to make your research. You have to make your research. You have to ask people who have been in this business for quite some time, what are the procedures? What should I do in case I fall short? You get, because most of us get into the business world because that's the only option that we have.
Yeah, that is true.
That is the only option that we are left with. So you're panicking, you're looking for capital, you've not made enough research. At the end of the day, it doesn't work out as expected. And the blame is onto the government and whatever it is. So there is lack of professionalism on how you handle your customers. Do you know the market? Do you understand the market of the product that you're putting out?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I believe that is what I understand. And of course, when you look at, there's also an adequate collateral to secure loans at the end of the day.
Collateral.
Yes, because now you talk about these are youth. I mean, what is it that they're going to offer at the end of the day? Can they even afford a loan?
It's definitely going to be a bit harder for them to actually do that, and the fact that the aspect of experience in terms of running that. Last time we had a discussion in relation to the real estate industry, seeing how just part of it alone can lead to to run the entire chain of the economy, where we saw that if people have access to property, they can easily have an exchange for collateral to get loans and create more investment. Now, which creates that huge gap, for most of the small and intermediate enterprises. And even on top of them not being able to, to have collateral since they are youth, we also take a look at the interest rates. The atmosphere, it's quite hard, because we're talking about an interest rate of about 18%, on somebody who's going to even transact aspects whereby he's not even sure of what kind of the market is actually dealing in. Because remember, here in Uganda, most of our inflation is not really driven by the forces of demand and supply. It's largely determined, or it's cost push inflation. In other words, we are talking about prices of fuel, driving the entire cost, and that drains people's income. So these dynamics are quite really tricky for some of the youth. So it explains why most of these businesses, you see, there is one thing. Most of the businesses are opened up from a perspective of making profits.
Exactly.
But you get to find that in the first year, it may not be possible for you to run this profit. For you to earn this profit. So, in other words, if you're not running profit, then what are you doing? You're simply surviving.
Yeah.
So, you have to.
That is why most of them don't make it their birth.
Exactly. You have to be surviving all the way. But even the question is, what is the survival mechanism like in Uganda? That's also another question that we need to find out.
Well, of course, I believe it's just that if you understand the market and understand your niche, that's also important. And your niche, the audience, or your customers, that is also quite important. Now, if you are youth, you have to be able to relate to fellow youth. If you want to push out a product, you have to be able to relate. Even if you are maybe an adult, maybe in your 40s, you have to be able to relate to the youth, because they're the ones that populate the country now, recent. You can't bring in a thing that won't relate to them.
Absolutely, in all aspects, in all angles, the product development should be in relation to that.
Yeah.
But then, as much as we're also looking at all these perspectives, because I believe part of the competitive strategies here for the small and intermediate enterprises of what you've just mentioned, it gets me back to a place of product development. You know, in terms of how have you established a system to ensure that the checks and balances before you put up this product, it's actually on standard before you wait for UNBs to actually be the one to to certify that your product is quality. So all these perspectives, and now that brings us back to research. You know, putting aside the market research, but also research in terms of developing a product.
Yeah.
You know, what criteria are you using to research? What tests are you doing? In what perspective, in what manner are you really carrying out all these tests? These tests, bringing us back to the aspect of ethics when it comes to what you're putting out there on the market. Because good branding, that doesn't necessarily mean it's quality. That's another perspective that people need to understand. You know, all those dynamics, I believe, should be, these are the youth and the women who are the largest control of these enterprises should actually seek for more. And talking about more areas of capacity building, you know, attending sessions which are necessary for them to have a competitive product development, you know. But surprisingly, that you find that even some of the sessions, when they're put in place, I mean, nobody really pays attention to them. The attendance may not really be the maximum, you know, taking a look at all that. So that is not only having an impact to the people that are organizing these perspectives, because it's not about turning up. I mean, people who didn't turn up, but it now comes back to the product, to the service and the product delivery these SMEs are going to be giving out to the people. Because if it's not really worth it, then the foreign players will come and outcompete. That's why it brings me back to the perspective of the Buy Uganda, Build Uganda, which seems to not have achieved its intentions. Why? Product quality development.
Well, okay. First of all, I have to defend Buy Uganda, Build Uganda.
No, it's a good initiative, but
it's not a good initiative. It's just that, you see, with the you know, when you're setting up a business in Uganda, there is a lot of procedures you have to go through. The materials, the raw materials are actually quite expensive at some point. So you find the end product is a bit expensive compared to what we import. Now, I will give an instance of an earring, of someone who makes an earring and they make it out of probably a tenji, and they have some other. It's going to be quite expensive, to run to 20,000 to 5,000 compared to the one we import of 10,000. So, I think they also consider that fact, that the raw materials are expensive, the taxes on them that are imposed on them, they have to rent at the end of the day where they're going to, you know, put up. I mean, we have Art World around here in Kampala. How many people on a day do you think go and shop?
Of course, not so many.
Not so many.
But I think it explains why, because when we talk about industrialization, according to a report of 2023, which revealed that a million industries are established, we see that a part of the key intention, because why some of these raw materials are expensive, it's because most of them are imported. So the taxes are high because the nation is trying to, you know, reduce on the importation. So the sole purpose of these factories is to ensure that the raw materials that we've been importing, we can now make them from here. So maybe, probably, the excuse is no longer going to be there, because come 2024, when we have these zones established, these raw materials will be available. Now it will be up to the SMEs on how they are going to play the game perfect to ensure that they have that quality that they have always desired, because now they are making the raw materials inside here. The reason that's why you're saying, actually, I can connect to your point. It comes back to definitely the raw materials being imported. They already come expensive, away from just the taxes that are imposed here on them. They already come quite So long as we're importing, the import bill is actually increasing far. And that's what we are fighting. We are fighting so hard as a nation to reduce the import bill.
Well, of course, 70 minutes past 7 a.m. and I guess we're going to look at what is happening into the press. And of course, here with the Daily Monitor, a row erupts over PDM cash transfer. And now, of course, since the surprise shift of the PDM cash transfer from the banks to the e-money applications, Wendy, an official in Kampala, reportedly diverted 70 million Sacco money to start a hardware business. Another in Kamuli district fled with Sacco cash to Canada. Well, quite interesting what is happening in Uganda. And of course, still another story is Buganda clan leader shot dead. Of course, quite sad news yesterday. And of course, that is what is happening within Uganda.
Now, as we take a look at the division, Uganda removed from money laundering list. This is something that came in yesterday from the back of Uganda. What I believe is quite a very interesting news. And now seeing 2026 polls as Museveni summons the Central Executive Committee. I got to find out that. And of course, thousands attend the Harvest Money Expo here. When you grab yourself a copy of the new vision, you'll find out what is transpiring. And of course, still with the Liga clan leader who was shot dead yesterday as heading towards his place in Lunguja. That is also quite absurd. When you grab yourself, you'll find out.
Well, of course, the Uzira prison, the renowned Uzira prison, I was actually seeing in the news that it's going to be, there are rumors surrounding the fact that the land may be used to set up a hotel facility and the prisoners will be transferred to some other area.
That is the
Uzira prisons, the main. Where the fugitives are put.
Okay. Now taking a look at farmers here who have been urged to use technology to connect and also improve the productivity rates. That shows us out. And Uganda, Dutch experts to boost Uganda's agriculture potential. And of course, seeing that the majority of the farmers in Uganda, actually majority of Ugandans still to be surviving on a subsistence farming, which is hindering, which explains why poverty rates are actually increasing that. Now, still here in the division, they are still, of course, breaking down the Harvest Money Expo, and in particular, this time around, in line to do with experiences and the lessons that were picked from that. All right, now here, the NGO that is constructs environmentally, that is a sustainable toilet for Gulu School. Wow, environmentally sustainable. Now, this is what we're talking about, even when it comes to waste disposal.
Yeah.
Environmental, it should be environmentally friendly.
Yeah. I've seen some that are, separate.
This is a newly constructed biodigester toilet.
Yeah. Well, of course, Minister Majezi warns LCs against charging stamp fees. For you to get access to a stamp, you'd actually pay from 5,000 to 10,000 just for a stamp. Yeah.
Amazing.
They had to survive. They had to survive. Because how much do you think LCs got? Very little money. So they have to survive at the end of the day. So that is why we're having such cases. And of course, we have cases of people missing out with PDM money.
Yeah, we realized that to do with, what you mentioned, the LCs, again, is charging stamp fees. And when we are talking about recently when we were discussing the corruption-related issues, I've seen Uganda's score. And part of the biggest corruption was witnessed in the local government, seeing most of these chairmen seconding their friends' children or their children to be part of this. And there's so many more. A lot of corruption, actually. As we talk about also the corruption, we discuss it from the central government perspective. But, from the local government, that is key. So I'm not surprised.
You can imagine if a person buys land worth 100 million, 10% goes to LC.
10% goes to the LC. So that clearly shows you how actually there is an act which gave the local government leaders quite some power to execute. It explains why actually they do what they do. And Parliament sometime back have discussed on how to reduce their powers. You know, such that they can't have that whole impact. Because if leadership is already crumbled from the foundation, well, it will definitely give you the whole picture of what the country will be like. When we are to assess governance from the higher perspective. All right, now as we proceed still here, furthermore on still in the inside plan to relocate Luzera prison. Well, we come to the end of this report briefly now as we take a look at the traffic atmosphere and of course the images that you're observing in there coming in from Ginger Road. And you can see the access road roundabout. Yeah, it's kind of a threatening terrain. Actually, it rained as it was coming to the early morning around 4 o'clock. So I can see there is a bit of a movement of the vehicles coming in to the Ginger Road. And I'm talking about people from in the 6th Street, 8th Street, and the 7th Street at the same time. And those that are residents of Namuongo are definitely coming in there to come to town and execute what they ought to execute. Seeing also vehicles coming in from that is Ginger Road, branching up to the access road, heading to probably industrial area. Some are heading to Chibuli and proceed in through there up to the Gaba Road and head to other different given destinations. Now switch closely and briefly. We see Kampala Road joining Ginger Road and actually being part of those traffic lights. You would rather use the Nile Avenue route then branch over to Garden City and later on proceed, most especially if you're heading to Ginger Road. Unlike if you're heading to Access Road, you'll have to be patient in that line. But anyway, you can't use the other route, it will be faster for you to proceed. That is to the other destination. Now we take a look at the Yusuf Lane Road, of course, linking all the way up from, of course, if we were to assess it, all the way from the Wandiga roundabout, coming to Fairway, opposite Kololo, the Kololo Golf Course, and of course coming in down straight to Nile Avenue, Garden City, till here. All that's all the Yusuf Lane Road heading in there, and I'm seeing a huge congestion, and that one, it's not a surprise. It's normally that way at all times, most especially on a Monday morning like this. So if you're a resident of probably Wandiga and you're planning to branch to Gaba Road, Kansanga side, Kabalagala, or any of those areas onto that road, well, you will take you some time, because remember, you have to go through a bunch of stopovers all the way from the Fairway. You come also here, you meet another, and sometimes you're uncertain of what you will find at another roundabout. That will give you, clearly explain to you the patience that will be required of you. Okay, now of course, briefly now we switch to the Ginger Road adjoining Kampala Road, and normally there is a huge congestion following vehicles that are coming in from Port Bell Road. Yes, those coming in from Port Bell Road, linking up with those that are coming in from Ginger Road. So you find that that roundabout, what we traditionally call the actual roundabout, normally gets so much crowded. border borders, pedestrians at the same time. Well, it's a whole lot of a congestion right there. I think it's what is happening clearly there. Yes, yeah, exactly. The old Portugal board linking up with Ginger board. I mean, talking about people staying in Luzira, Montungo, Chinkale, Abugolovi side, even those from Butabika, all linking up with people that are coming in on the areas along Ginger Road. I mean, talking about Boyagere Ridge, Banda side, and Akawa side, and so it's a whole lot of congestion there. Well, that's it for our traffic report this particular morning. It's exactly 27 minutes past 9. And at 7 rather, that means business takes a short break for now. And of course, we return with Caribou East Africa at the international update. Stick around.